flying ghost tutorial several years ago for YouTube, and I wanted to share it again in case you missed it. I'm Carrie with Scary Halloween, making props and decor on a budget. For this project, you'll need a children's bike. I took one apart and spray painted the wheels black. These are 16-inch wheels. I got this wiper motor on Amazon and also this power supply. I'll post both the links for these. Here is a reducing coupler, also found on Amazon, that will be used to connect the motor to the wheel. I did end up needing to use JB Weld to really get this to hold, so a better option would be this reducing coupler that threads on. I got this one on frightprops.com. You'll also need poly fish line that's at least a 50-pound test. You could use a braided line, but I find that I can tie my line tighter with a poly. And lastly, you'll need 2 fish spindles, one for the line and one for the ghost. Here's how to wire the wiper motor. I'm using a 12-volt motor and a 12-volt power supply. This power supply comes with the female adapter that's needed. You can see here that it's labeled positive and negative. I used a car battery to test which wires were positive and which were park, knowing that black was my ground. For this motor, yellow was high speed, green was low, and red and white were park. I'm going with the high speed, so I capped off the wires I won't be using. Now I'm connecting the wires to the female adapter. Yellow will go into the positive and black into negative. Tighten with an itty bitty screwdriver. Now all you have to do is plug it into the power supply. Now let's connect the motor to the wheel. The bolt on the motor is smaller than the bolt on the wheel. So here's where you want to use this reducing coupler by tightening the screws or using the alternative threading coupler. Plug it in from here and look at it spin. For my stands, I kept it simple and just used 2x4s and spray painted them black. This stand's about 8 feet tall and this arm comes out about 18 inches. It's joined by this corner bracket that I spray painted black. And there's a couple of screws at the top of the stand here. This one is the return wheel. Bore a hole at the top of the stand and be sure not to go all the way through. I used a locking nut at the top and this allows the wheel to spin freely. Now let's look at the motor setup. I spray painted a storage container black and used it to house the motor and the power supply to keep it weatherproof. The motor is mounted on a bracket, which I screwed through the container to attach to the stand. I also drilled a hole at the end of the container to feed the coupler through and connect the wheel. Here's a little explanation on how the line moves. The wheel that I have connected to the motor is a locking wheel of the bike, which is driven by the motor and doesn't freely spin. Here is my fish swivel, which I connect my ghost directly to, so the motor powers the wheel, which pushes the ghost because of the tension on the line. It is important to get this line as tight as you can and to make your ghost as light as possible. I have a tutorial on how to make a lightweight ghost pinned in this video description. To make these stands easy for future use, dig a hole for each stand and throw in a couple of bags of quick-set concrete. Stick a 2x4 into the concrete before it sets and wiggle it around just a little bit so there's a small amount of play, then pull out the 2x4 once the concrete sets. Now, year after year, I can just put in the stands and we're ready to go.